Hello, everyone. My guest today is Grant Deken. He is a serial entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Unstack, the no-code content management platform designed for marketers to build and scale digital businesses without developers. We love them, but they're expensive. Prior to Unstack, Grant was a co-founder and CEO of Grapevine, an influencer marketplace with 200,000 plus creators, which was acquired in 2018. All right, Grant, you ready to take us to the top?
Yeah, let's do this.
First off, congrats on getting a company sold in the influencer marketing space in 2018. I know a lot of these companies now that are just sort of flat or stuck at like 5, 10 in ARR. How'd you get out? I mean, you played that right.
I think the market was changing really fast. A couple things we saw, obviously the walled garden platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, were changing the rules all the time. That's actually part of like why I'm excited about Unstack. So I think for us, we wanted to position the business for exit with a company that could, continue to unlock the value with some of its other assets and things like that.
Yep. And this was Ideanomics, right? Back in 2018. Right. Yep. And it was like I think a $2.4 million acquisition deal.
So the interesting thing about them, they had actually already owned a significant stake in the company. So the final price was a bit higher, but that was sort of what to buy out the company as a wholly owned subsidiary. That was around the purchase price. Yeah.
So just to repeat that back to you, they might have already owned 20% of the company, so they were really buying the other 80% for 2.4 million. So the valuation was actually higher.
Along those lines, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, let's now focus on new business, right? So Unstack, when did you launch it? What year?
We really got it going early 2019. My co-founder and I kind of came out of the gate full time in May. So we've been at it, about 15 months.
Okay, mid 2019. And I mean, what was the sort of, how'd you build the conviction to say, you know what, I'm going to launch another company. It's going to take 3 to 5 years, the rest of my life to do this. What gave you the conviction?
Well, one, I think I'm a glutton for punishment. But I think putting that aside for a second, I love building products that help people. With Grapevine, it was all about, those creators had very limited options for monetizing their audience. And so we gave them kind of, especially when we started, we gave them a new way to really unlock value from their audience. Towards the end of that, though, I wanted to start thinking about serving a constituency that I really identified and cared about. And that's entrepreneurs, founders, and marketers to a large extent, who are kind of like the unsung heroes of a lot of these organizations. I built a ton of websites on a ton of different platforms. I've built full marketing stacks, soup to nuts, and scaled up some pretty big, digital presences. And the consistency I found, whether it was for me or for any sort of entrepreneur out there, is like you start putting together a bunch of tools, inevitably, like you get stuck. Like things kind of evolve to be like a Frankenstein sort of system, and then you're pulling in like contractors and consultants who are like touch and go. We've all kind of, been in that situation before. So I kind of set out to be like, hey, I really love this persona, the founder, the marketer. How can I build sort of like the idyllic platform that I would want if I was starting something new? And that's kind of like the genesis that, started Unstack. And we had a few other entrepreneurs that were like, hey, I would use this. Like, when can I get it? And so that kind of kicked things off.
So how'd you get your first 10 customers?
First 10 customers were probably just through like my personal network, talking to people who are kind of, I have this pain, or hey, a friend of mine actually just asked me about this. Like, let me connect you. It's been fairly grassroots since the beginning. So a lot of our customers come from referrals. Obviously we're doing a lot of content marketing, but referrals have been a huge driver for us.
How do you incentivize referrals?
So originally we didn't, it was sort of like a goodwill loyalty thing. I think as we kind of built some of that goodwill and like earned that trust with our customer base, we actually rolled out a lifetime sort of recurring referral program. So there's a 30% lifetime recurring revenue share for customers that people refer to us now.
Interesting. So how much, like last month, how much did you pay out to affiliates because of that 30% cut?
That's pretty new, that program. So I think small dollars, maybe $500. I think we just rolled it out this summer. But it's I think people really like it. We're seeing a lot of people sign up for it.
And then going back to your other strategy that you mentioned early on, content marketing, you're starting to gain serious steam with terms like best SaaS websites or beta page or SaaS websites, things like that. You're moving up in the ranking, which are driving you sort of new clicks per month. Is this intentional or is it sort of accidental?
Well, I mean, we're using our own platform to dog food growing our own SaaS business, right? So we're very much like in it with our customers who are also doing the same thing. And so, for us, we're just practicing what we preach, focusing on smart content, we look at content twofold, like especially now, it's all about educating, our audience, building trust with them, but then also the long tail of that, starting to rank for the terms that our customers are, out searching for. So obviously we're in a space where there's a lot of competition on certain keywords. We try to be smart about where we start and kind of increase our ambition, over the long term for higher volume, higher competition keywords.
Yeah, well, I think your best performing post, our favorite B2B SaaS website's 2019 edition. That thing's due for an update, and double down on the traffic you guys are getting from that. You also
we've got one, yeah.
You've done some other sort of great, sort of hacky, smart things, right? Since over the past 15 months, in July of 2020, you launched on Product Hunt. You got 3,900 or 3,300 upvotes. That is not easy. I'd say that's top 1% easily on Product Hunt. How did you? I mean, that doesn't happen by accident. So how did you sort of strategically plan that launch?
So we actually had I wrote up kind of a brain dump of everything that we learned and did and everyone we talked to and feedback we got. I think even at one point, Ryan Hoover gave me some direct feedback like, hey, this is too markety. Like you need to kind of like taper it back. And so we tried to be really considerate from all those conversations, and we put a lot of work into it. So you can get all of that on our site, all the tools and tips. I think a couple of things that like really worked well for us.
Where is it, by the way? Sorry, where is that? Is it on the blog? Do you know the blog title? You can put that on under?
Yeah, I think it's /blog/Product Hunt Playbook.
Oh yeah, okay, I got it. Let me just tell people how successful this was real quick. So yeah, 3,300 upvotes. You got 16,000 unique website views, and you got 1,600 new signups, and a nice bump in MRR. What was the bump? Like a couple thousand in MRR?
Yeah, that's about right, actually.
Okay.
The interesting thing about Product Hunt, so all that's true. We also got, I don't know if I mentioned this in the article, it was like a lot of, some overwhelming amount of inbound VC interest from that. So if that's something that you're exploring as a founder, like we weren't expecting that at all. So that was one thing. We also got a few different like PR write-ups from it as well. And like another competitor in the space wrote like a huge article, like, about us and comparing us. So there was some nice like overflow from some of that as well.
That's interesting. Okay, got it. So there was an MRR bump there. So walk me through sort of what this costs to use. People can sign up for free, and then what's the average customer paying per month?
Yeah, so it ranges anywhere from free, as you mentioned, up to you typically around $99. We're doing a lot of experimentation with pricing. We have larger like enterprise companies who are spending quite a bit more. We have agencies who have kind of bulk licenses that are kind of in the sort of 500 plus range a month. But generally, when we're selling to founders, selling to marketing teams or product teams within larger companies, they're probably around $100 a month.
Yep. And about how many customers do you have today?
Today, we're still pretty early in our journey. We've got, we're just around 200 customers.
200 customers. Okay. I mean, look, that's traction's traction, right? You can't argue with that. So that puts you at about 20 grand a month in revenue.
So so currently we're probably just about half of that, about 10.
Okay.
And so the reason for that is, when you sort of blend it out, I would say like we're seeing more and more people go towards that $100 plan as we've rolled out a lot more features into that plan. Things like Stripe integration, revenue attribution, AMP content, AMP pages. But where we started, we saw, especially with Product Hunt, the groundswell was around like the 29 to 49 a month. So they're getting that blended average.
Yeah, it's smart. Have you bootstrapped this or raised?
So the way that we look at it is, we're thinking pretty long term, and for a platform play, like we wanted the latitude to kind of, take some time and really think like, how are people going to build this build digital businesses over the next 10 years. So for that, we felt like some venture was the right path for us. So we put about $1 million into the business around the time that we went full time, probably June, July last year.
You put it in, or you raised from VC?
We raised it. Yeah.
Okay,
I participated, but yeah, it's sort of a traditional pre-seed round.
See, Grant knows I love bootstrappers, which is why we get the minute-long sort of hedge before he says, and we raised capital. I don't mind it though. Some businesses it's right for, some it's not right for. It just depends on what you're going after.
Yeah, I think like if you're sort of in the potential like category creation business, or thinking about like how could we be sort of an anchor player in our space, you can do it bootstrap, but it's a little bit more challenging. So I think to have kind of the firepower to go it alone, VC can be a helpful hand in that.
So let me now break this down, right? So million raised, 120,000 in ARR run rate today.
Yep.
When you raised, I assume you did that on what, like a safe? Was it unpriced?
Yeah, it's unpriced. We actually did it as a convertible note.
Okay.
And in terms of that, we're like a 5 million cap.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Okay, and walk me through how you think about burn today. So how much are you burning per month to drive growth?
Yeah, we burn 40 grand a month right now. That's like gross. That's an offset, by our growing MRR.
So 30,000 net.
Yeah.
And so are you cool with that? I mean, is that sort of, you're comfortable with that for a while?
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you take some money in, outside capital in, like it's an interesting balance of like, well, how fast do I spend it? And I think when you do that, you tend to get a little bit of pressure, like, hey, you should be spending that fairly aggressive to like get to conclusions or like, learn things. On the flip side, I've been in other companies where we raised money and then we threw money at problems without really understanding like the root drivers of those problems. So people will throw cash at it, to buy customers when they're not ready. They'll throw money at headcount when they're not ready or don't know the real problem they're solving. So I think it's finding that balance. I think for us, like 40K a month is like a pretty lean and mean sort of operation.
Yeah, and really run rate is what we care about, right? So I mean, how much cash do you still have in the bank?
We spent about half of it.
Yeah, so I mean, so that puts you at 8, 9, 10 months of runway, something like that.
I mean, and we're continuing to grow, obviously, which slows that down or allows us to kind of maintain it, but add more resources to try to push things faster.
How much new MRR did you add last month?
I'd have to double check. I think we probably added like 2,500.
Okay, good. I mean, so more than 10% month over month growth. Yeah.
The one thing that was been interesting going back to Product Hunt was like, and I know you're big on cohort analysis, and like we don't have our numbers totally perfect and figured out, but we did see that like the churn from that particular cohort was significantly higher than our overall churn from all other cohorts. So something to be thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Product Hunt is as bad as AppSumo. I think the AppSumo cohort is always like the really high churn. I mean, they don't even convert to annual or monthly plans usually. Product Hunt is I think great for a lot of other things besides getting customers. You touched on a couple of them. It's sort of publicity and it has a lot of other side effects. I mean, you're testing on the right things though. Talk me through your team today. How many folks?
Yeah, so we're 10 total, 7 are full time. We've got 6 of our 10 are engineering and product. I'm kind of like a half breed because I'm running the business on the day to day, but my background's actually in product and I did a stint as a UX developer. So I currently run our product as well. And then we just brought on Zach Rigo, who's our VP of sales and marketing, who was previously at WordStream and was GM of their agency business over there. So Zach just came on. We've got Chris Cardone, who's our head of customer success. We've got inside sales team. So that's sort of what the team makeup is today.
Is there any of these reps quota carrying?
That's something like we're trying to figure out. Like if you look at our business today, it's not really like it's not a model that really works for ISR. So our focus has really been in like, creating those wow moments for like new customers that are coming in the platform and like really thinking about retention and expansion more than like just closing new business.
ISR is inside sales rep?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about churn. What's gross churn look like monthly?
Yeah. So again, I think like overall, I'd probably say like 3 to 4% monthly right now on the growth side. And I think we have some things to figure out there. Like one of the things in our business that we're trying to figure out is what that sort of retention and like expansion strategy looks like for users, because where you start certainly isn't where you finish, right? Like, 6 months down, like most of our customers will double their traffic, double their leads every 5 or 6 months, right? And so like we're trying to figure out how to grow with them. And offset, some of that gross churn. I think the other thing too we're looking at is like, how do we improve our pricing model? Like we, for example, today we're very much just free and then like 3 tiers, right? With like different features bucketed, which is kind of like an old school way of looking at it. There's no usage metrics in place right now. So we have a lot of experimenting to do to kind of get that right. And I think ideally like just really try to align with the customer to make it super easy for them to get going and then like grow with them over the long term.
And do you have a general idea of what CAC would be? What do you spend to get a new $100 a month customer?
Yeah, I think right now we're probably spending 300 to 400, probably closer to 400. I think that can come down. We haven't done a lot of paid. Surprisingly, Facebook has worked better than AdWords. And there's some interesting things we're trying there. I think one I recently learned about was, just the ability to upload your customer list and do some lookalike around that. So we're cautiously optimistic that there could be some upside there for us on customer growth.
Yep. Good stuff, Grant. Let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, favorite business book.
I have a few. 7 Powers by Hamilton Weber is probably one of the top.
Yep, that's a good one. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
There's a bunch. One of the guys on our board is a guy named Ralph Foles. He's not currently CEO, but he was the CEO of a company called WordStream here in Boston. So it's if you can get someone you're following to also be a mentor or sit on your board, even better.
And he helps you pick off key employees from his old company, I guess.
Well, that was actually coincidental. I'd been having lunch with Zach for over a year. But yeah, I mean they know each other too, so it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your company besides your own?
Obviously our own, but I've actually grown to really like Barometrics and Profitwell, just kind of getting into the actual unit metrics of our business, and figuring out kind of where to tweak the dials.
And what's your situation? Married, single, kiddos?
I am happily married, no kids.
No kids. And how much sleep are you getting each night?
I got to get 8.
That's good. And how old are you?
33.
33. Last question, Grant. What do you wish you knew when you were 20?
Big things take time. Be patient.
Guys, there you have it. Unstack, really a tool for founders to get going for really anything they need for the business, but mainly sort of a CMS all-in-one sort of tool. They've raised $1 million. Their net burn is $30,000 a month. They're serving over 200 customers to date, doing about $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue, up from nothing about a year ago when they launched. We'll see what happens next. Grant, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thank you.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.